Bruce, and you and I have talked about this once before, thank you for raising that question, because for me, this is a very personal visit. Having been a part of the conclave that elected this extraordinary Pope, and having been asked by him to work on a number of programs with him, to work closely with him, having the Pope come here becomes a very beautiful personal thing for me. He is visiting our home. He's coming to see all of us. And so all I can say is, it's not just the official visit of the head of the church, it's the visit of our spiritual father.
Yes.
Hi, Nick Candace from the New York Times. I'm wondering if you could say anything about how the events that are here in Washington or elsewhere were organized, how the itinerary was put together.
Good.
With all this.
Nick, the question, how did this itinerary come to be? How was it put together? First, we received the word confidentially that the Holy Father was very, very seriously considering coming to the United States. And then he indicated that he had already accepted an invitation to speak at the United Nations. And then we knew that we could count on Washington being a part of it, because he indicated to the president that he was going to accept the president's invitation. But I have to say that within a month of his election, I had already given him a letter inviting him to Washington. But what started everything moving was when the Pope indicated through the official channels, through the nunciature, that he was going to come. We then were invited, that is, the bishops of the three dioceses, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington. We were invited to meet with the nuncio and begin to put together something like a wish list for the trip. What all would you like the Pope to do? Well, you can imagine what that looked like. So then came the paring down to say, realistically, okay, now that you've said everything you would like to have happen, realistically, recognizing there are only 24 hours in the day, even for the Pope, how do you begin to pare that down? And then we submitted it to the Holy See, and eventually an advance team came here to all three cities. They came here to Washington, met with us and said, realistically, these are the things that need to be done. The White House, Congress, the Mass, the visit with the bishops. These are the things that have to be done. The Pope is already committed to doing those. And so let's put together a schedule. And that's what we did, Nick. We put together a schedule, and then it went back to Rome, because as soon as you put together a schedule, that implies that at these places the Pope is going to speak, the Pope is going to be engaged, and so somebody has to begin to count out how much time will that take. Then came the delicacy of how long does it take to get him from here to there, and realistically, how do you get a Pope through a crowd of people with everybody wanting to say hello? So there was just a lot of logistics. Some of that was beyond my competence. That's why we have these offices, and why Rome has an office for these types of visits, because the Pope is visiting the world. But that's how it came to be. And eventually, the advance team came back and said, here's pretty much where we are, let's walk through it again. And so that's how this came to be. And then today is the official announcement. Up until this moment, we were told, you can plan, but remember, this is all informal. This is all unofficial, and it can be changed. Then we got the formal announcement today, and that's why I'm grateful for all of you to be here, because we can talk about this now openly about what all is involved. There is always that one little caveat that comes with the trip, and that is there can still be some fine-tuning. But basically, Nick, this is what's going to happen.
Are you here at work with WRC? Are you privy to what he's going to talk about for Congress? If you could characterize that, and if you're not, just talk about the significance of that.
Yeah, I'm not, and I don't know of anybody who is. But I think the significance of that address to Congress rests on the fact that this will be a shepherd, a pastor of souls, whose focus is not political, who has no political agenda, who represents no political party or interest, but simply speaking to the hearts of people about what is our relationship to one another, what should that be, what is our relationship to God, and how should that be manifest in how we love one another. I suspect from everything else that we hear him say, everywhere else he's been, that's probably going to be the focus. The one thing we do know is he will not be speaking as a political leader, because he's not. He'll be speaking as a pastor. But for our country today particularly, with all the concerns we have, with all of the tensions that we sometimes face, to have someone of his stature say, remember folks, you're brothers and sisters. Remember folks, you're all part of the same family of God. I think that's a message we're all eager to hear.
Your Excellency, the Pope is the first Pope coming from the Americas, and you have a growing Hispanic population here in the Archdiocese. How big do you think is going to be the role that the immigrant community, particularly Hispanics, are going to play during this visit?
Because the Hispanic population is so significant in the United States and such a big and welcome part of this Archdiocese, we intend to have a very, very significant portion of those tickets available for the Mass for the Hispanic community. We'll probably distribute them through the parishes as we do all the tickets, and let those people who are a part of the life of this church be able to come with their parish as a part of their parish community. But we'll also have space for the delegation that's coming from California. And I've already received some indications from a number of other large centers of Hispanic population. They would like to be well represented, and they will be. And one of the things that we are also told, it's out of recognition for the huge and vibrant and significant Hispanic portion of the Catholic population that the canonization of Junipero Serra is going to take place. That's why the Pope chose to do it in the United States.
Follow up, will most of his speaking be in Spanish, or will it be a mix of Spanish and English? Do we know details of what that will look like? His English is notoriously poor in the Philippines.
Well, I don't know what languages will be used where and when, but we do know that the Mass for the canonization will be in Spanish, and that's a recognition, again, I think it's a recognition of a number of things, not just the Hispanic population, but how many others have learned to be able to respond, to speak, to celebrate in Spanish. It's really becoming if not already, it's very close to becoming the universally recognized second language of the country. And so it's good just to see that recognized. What language he'll use elsewhere, I don't know. That gets back to the question that was asked earlier, do I know what he's going to say? No, and I don't know in what language he'll say it. Good morning. That meeting is going to take place right here in this cathedral, and I suspect that whatever the Holy Father is going to say, and this gets back to my earlier answer, I don't know. I am not privy to what he's going to say, but I suspect that there will be words of pastoral encouragement for all of the issues we're facing, and there's so many of them. I won't be surprised if he focuses on the needs of the poor, because that's such a big part of his view of responsibility today. But more than that, it would just be speculation on my part.
How meaningful do you think it's going to be for him to visit the Catholic charities on his last day, knowing how much service that they take over those years, even before he was public?
I think that's probably why it's going to be the last thing he does. All these other things he will be doing, the White House, the massive canonization, the Capitol, Congress, and then he's going to go and be with the poor. And I think that's his way, logistically, visually, of saying, whatever else is going on, don't lose sight of our brothers and sisters who have needs. I think it's going to be a very significant moment.
Yes, please identify your outlet.
Yes, you're right. It will be the largest concentration that he will be addressing in the context of the Mass. I suspect there's going to be a pretty big crowd on the South Lawn, and I think there's probably going to be a pretty good crowd gathered around the Capitol. But the Mass at the shrine and at Catholic University will be the largest concentration of people where he will be speaking directly to them. And as I mentioned, I don't know precisely what he will be saying, but I would think we're going to hear in that homily, once again, the call to share God's love and to do that with one another. The second part of your question, the tickets? Yeah. Well, we have here the Vice President of Catholic University. We also have here the Rector of the Shrine. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say we're counting on somewhere around 25,000 seats. And the reason we can do that is, remember, we have graduation of the Catholic University of America in this same location every single year. And the shrine always is the backdrop for that. But the other point is going to be, that'll be seats. We're going to have standing room all around the campus, and we're going to have those great jumbotrons, those great screens all over the place, so that people will be able to follow this, even if they can't get a seat. But we do hope to have seating for at least that many people. Another thing we hope to have inside the shrine, because we would like to have the Holy Father walk through the shrine. We would like to invite, and this is, I'm still using the subjunctive, we're still using the hopeful, conditional. We would like to invite all of the seminarians that would want to be here from the United States, and all of the novices, that's the young women preparing to be nuns. We'd like to have them in the shrine so that the Holy Father gets some idea of the vitality, the youth of the Church in the United States. Now, this sounds like a cop-out. I don't have to. But your question is a very important one. How is security going to be handled? That we leave up to the authorities. They're the only ones that are really capable of doing that. So we have Secret Service, we have all of the federal government agencies, then we'll have the local police. All of that's being coordinated through contacts with the appropriate offices. All I have to do is really show up with the Pope. But your question is really an important one. How's that going to be handled? I just don't know. in all the details, because it is the responsibility, and they've been working on it from day one.
The masses want to see this guy. Everybody wants to see him. Is the Popemobile coming?
Yes, the Popemobile is coming, Christy. The Popemobile is coming. How and when and where it'll be used, again, that dovetails with the earlier question about security. But yes, a Popemobile is coming, and all of us who want to see him are going to have a chance to see him.
Yes.
The question is, do I think the Holy Father might address climate change? That I don't know. I would hope he'll make reference to his encyclical, that beautiful encyclical, Laudato Si, God be praised. May God be praised in all of the wonder of his creation. It's a beautiful, beautiful letter. And he's saying to us, we have to look at the world around us, and we have to see it through the lens of the importance of individual people, because the heart of everything depends on how well we treat one another. But we can't treat one another well if the world in which we live is not treated well. So we have to care for all of creation. That's going to be a challenge, but that, I think, will probably then be left to those that have to work that out in the practical order.
Matthew?
How will the laity be able to get tickets to the canonization Mass? We're hoping to be able to distribute them through the parishes here in the Archdiocese, because, and your question was very well phrased, aside from all these other people who are getting tickets, how do we get tickets? That's a question that many of the people in the parishes are asking. We will, once we determine how many seats are available and how many standing room places will be available, and this goes back to the question about security, some of that we'll only know once those final decisions are made about the space and how many people can fit into that space. Once we know, then we can begin to apportion. We'll need so many tickets for the religious. We'll need so many tickets for the Hispanic contingent coming. We'll need so many tickets for the people from Catholic Charities. Then we're going to be able to say, and here are the tickets we now have for everybody else. That'll be the majority of them. The majority of tickets available to us will be for the faithful, will be for all of the people who would like to try to be there. Granted, with only 25,000 seats and probably another 20,000 standing room, we're not going to be able to meet the requests of everyone. But that's where you come in. They will be able to see all of this thanks to you, and thanks to those jumbotrons we hope to have, not just around the campus, but in other parts of the area as well.
Okay, we'll take two more questions. Catherine?
That's a very important question, because what initiated the visit to the New World, and isn't it nice to belong to an institution that's so old that it refers to our part of the world as the New World. But this visit was initiated for the world gathering of families. And we were told in the planning, and this goes back to the question of the planning, we were told in the planning, do not plan huge, spectacular masses. Don't be taking the mall. Don't be because the big mass is going to be in Philadelphia for the World Gathering of Families. The trip to New York was supposed to be primarily for the United Nations and a visit to some of the important realities of New York, the cathedral, Ground Zero. We were told this is going to be a visit here for the Church of Washington, for the church throughout the country to be present, and for the official visits to the White House and to Congress. So I suspect that whatever the Pope is going to say about families will be in Philadelphia.
We're going to take one more question. Mark Zimmerman?
Mark Zimmerman, Catholic Center. Cardinal Wuerl, how can people prepare for the Pope's visit? And lastly, what do you hope will be the lasting impact of his visit here to Washington?
One way I hope people will prepare for this, and there's going to be a rollout as we move into the summer from Catholic Charities. One of the things we would like to have people do is actually concentrate on some service project, something that they can do that would actually help other people. And that's part of this idea of taking, doing some sort of a video clip of what you're doing, or even how you're anticipating and envisioning helping others. But we hope as the summer moves along that we're going to hear more from Catholic Charities on how you can actually join your neighbors, join everyone in this community in doing something to help those in need. But another way in which we prepare is, I think, preparing our hearts. We're welcoming our shepherd. And I say our shepherd in the largest possible, in the widest possible sense. I can't tell you how many of my friends here who are not of my household of the faith, who are not of our household of the faith, speak to me about their excitement that the Pope is coming. One very, very close Jewish friend keeps telling me, keeps asking me, I hope you're taking good care of our Pope. And I always enjoy hearing something like that because it says how he's touching people across all faith lines, all faith communities. Well, one of the things all of us can do to prepare for the coming of a globally recognized spiritual leader is to open our own hearts in prayer and ask the Lord, ask God simply to enliven us in our concerns for those people that the Pope keeps calling us to care for, the people who have needs. I think that's one way in which we can prepare for this trip. I think the other is if this wonderful spiritual leader is coming, maybe each one of us can also just focus a little bit more, and I'm speaking now just for myself, on our own spiritual life. And how much time do I give to that? How much time do I devote to that? Even if it's just a couple minutes each day. That would be one way to prepare. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Eminence.